Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Take Two podcast. Reed and I are here every Tuesday night giving you NFL football content. We love doing it. Love the support. We had a great mock draft last week. If you guys want to go check that out, a lot of viewers on that one. Some comments, some likes. We love to see it. Love the feedback. So if you guys want to go check that one out, please do. Today we're going to be recapping NFL free agency. We'll go team by team. We'll kind of go relatively quick, only touch on people of significance or people that we feel are going to make an impact that might be under the radar. So we're going to jump right into it, not waste a whole lot of time with an intro. We'll start with the Bills. Reed will pull it up. We'll get
Give me a
going.
second. Here we go. We're all good. See that?
I can.
Sweet.
So Buffalo Bills, biggest one on this list, obviously top of the list. Josh Allen gets a new 6-year deal extension. This is huge for the Bills. We saw it coming. The best part about this is they signed him early. They didn't let this contract drag on and force them to make harder decisions down the road. They know who the guy is. They got the deal done. Great move by them. Khalil Shakir got a 4-year extension, which is great for him. He had a breakout year, a great receiver for Josh Allen. The biggest surprise in my eyes was Josh Palmer signing the 3-year deal. Only because Josh Palmer is also a slot receiver similar to Shakir. So they're going to be kind of a conflict of two players that kind of play the same position. We'll see how it plays out. Josh Palmer is a underrated receiver, can be a good value for them, so I'm not hating on it. You also have Joey Bosa, an edge, signing a 1-year kind of prove it deal. And then Damar Hamlin resigning, everybody's favorite. There are a couple other good picks. Greg Rosario got his extension. He's a great pass rusher for them. Love to see that. The guy above him, Michael, I can't pronounce his last name, and Larry
Andrew
Ogunjobi.
Andrew Joby or something like that. Yeah.
I heard they both have 6-game suspensions due to PEDs, which is kind of ironic. So I guess the Bills were kind of regretting signing both of them at the same time. But other than that, other than that tidbit, overall, I think the Bills put together a really good offseason here, signing some re-signing their key pieces, picking up a couple pieces to make a run at it. They should be in contention again this year.
100% agree. I love these defensive line signings. Joey Bosa, Greg Rosea, Larry Ogunjobi, that name. Great players. Love what they did there. And of course, Damar Hamlin. Amazing signing. I mean, comeback player of the year. Amazing player. All right, Miami. We got the MILF Hunter himself and Zach Wilson.
Jeez.
What a guy. I mean, he's a dog. There's really not much here. I'm not gonna lie to you. You got Pharaoh Brown, who's I think a pretty underrated tight end. Went to the Seahawks one year. He sucked there. He was pretty good on the Bengals, though. I believe that was the team he was on before the Seahawks. He was pretty good on the Bengals. The one thing I'm looking at is James Daniels, who is a pretty good guard. He did kind of fall a little bit than he used to be. Sorry, I worded that really wrong. He was really good. He kind of had a bad year last year. I'm not gonna say bad year. He had a worse year than he usually does last year. I think he's gonna have a bounce back year on the Dolphins. The Dolphins need extreme offensive line help.
Yep, they did.
Um, there's one other name here that I even recognize, and that's Ashton Davis. You probably don't know him. Jameson, I know you know him. A normal football player doesn't, or football fan doesn't normally know him. He's a safety with a skin tone that we don't normally see.
The one thing about the Dolphins is they were limited on cap space, so that's why they didn't make any really big splash signings, right? They were kind of had to hold their wallet in their hand while they were making choices on who to sign, trying to get some underrated guys, if you will, people that think that can make some impacts that way. So not a lot of big names to talk about there. Next is the Patriots, who are the complete opposite. They had money to spend heavily, and while they didn't always get the high names, just because it's not an ideal landing spot, they're not a great team, so not a lot of people want to go there. They missed out on Chris Evans. They missed out on they wanted DK, I think, at one point. Several other big name players that they want to add. So the items of note, I figured they'd add another receiver. I'm just kind of surprised Mac Hounds was the decision that they made to sign to a 2-year deal. He kind of had a breakout year on the Bills last year. All right player. Not who I think they want their wide receiver 1 or 2 to be for Drake May for the future. This neither here nor there. Morgan Moses is going to be a huge step up for them at right tackle. I really like this signing for them to help Drake May. The problem is he's kind of on the older side. So we'll see how that plays out for them. Garrett Bradbury, who just signed, I believe, today. Good signing for them. He has kind of regressed the last couple of years. He hasn't been great. He gets a little bad rap. He's still got the plate in him. It's just a matter of if he can step up to the plate for the team. Some underrated guys. Obviously, the big name is Milton Williams, right? Everybody, he was like one of the top free agents. He got a huge deal with them. They had the money to pay him. Mike Vrabel's a defensive guy. Doesn't surprise me a whole lot there. The three guys I want to bring up quick are Spillman, the linebacker, came from the Raiders, underrated linebacker. Carlton Davis got a surprisingly big deal. I think that's an overpay, in my opinion. I don't think he's that good for that kind of money. Decent corner, not that great. Yeah, Harold Landry coming back to Mike Vrabel makes sense. And then Marcus Epps was the one I was going to say from the Raiders. I think he's an underrated safety on a prove it deal. I think that'll work out for them. So that's what I got
Another
there.
guy, another guy that I also like is Caleb on Chason.
Yep.
He's a younger edge rusher. He hasn't really turned out in his career. I do like signing him to a 1 year, 5 mil deal. Let him try and compete. I think my Brave Bull could definitely do some things with him. He's a pretty good athlete. I think he's an underrated guy. Has an opportunity here, and I'd like to see if he turns out. I'm a big Caleb on Chason fan.
He's on the smaller side of the pass rusher side of things. Speed rusher, smaller sides.
Yes, for sure. The Jets. Yeah, obvious one here is Justin Fields. It's obvious because when you sign a quarterback, usually your quarterback on the team now is going to leave. That would be Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, that's going to happen. Justin Fields. I'm a
How do
big.
you feel about that?
I'm not a big Justin Fields hater. I actually am a big fan of Justin Fields. I think he was on a pretty bad team in the Bears. He went to the Steelers. He was decent on the Steelers. I mean, I'm not going to say he was anything great. Russell Wilson came in and took his job. Plain as that. I think I don't know. I think he probably could do better on the Jets than Aaron Rodgers did, if I'm going to be honest.
I think almost any quarterback could do better than Aaron Rodgers did.
Yeah. I mean, you got Garrett Wilson there to throw the ball to. You got Breece Hall to hand the ball off to. I mean, it's not like you're lacking weapons. So definitely things there. Other than that on offense, they didn't do much except for Josh Myers, which is a pretty good center signing, actually. Josh Myers is a very good center. Definitely
Yep.
shoring up that line for Justin Fields to run behind. Defense side, Derek Nottie is a pretty good defensive lineman. That's really all I'm seeing here. Andre Cisco, sorry. He's also a pretty underrated safety. I believe from the Jags, if I'm correct.
You are
Yep.
correct.
Andre Cisco's a pretty underrated safety as well. So they got two pretty good guys. I don't know any of these other names, if I'm going to be honest.
I was surprised that they tried to replace DJ Reed with Brandon Steffens. He struggled quite a bit the last year with the Ravens, and he got a 3 year, $36 million contract. Good for him. I don't know if that works out for the Jets. We'll see.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Ravens, they were relatively quiet. They resigned Ronnie Stanley, who I believe was going to go to the Patriots. He had an offer on the table for the Patriots, like we talked about. They had money to spend. They offered him more than this. He took kind of a hometown discount, if you will, to stay with the Ravens. I think a great decision on his part, by the way. But other than Hopkins and Cooper Rush, which is crazy to me because he doesn't fit the scheme whatsoever. So if Lamar goes down, they're going to have to completely flip their offensive scheme and game plan to fit Cooper Rush's play style versus Lamar's. Whatever. I was shocked by that. Hopkins was a guy that I wanted the Seahawks to get, especially on a 1 year, $5 million deal and a kind of a prove it deal. They understand he's kind of older. You're coming in to try and help us win now. I like it for the Ravens. I'm just kind of surprised by that he only took 5 mil. So other than that, there's not a whole lot going on here.
The other thing I want to touch on, we don't normally touch on fullbacks. Patrick Ricard is probably the best or second best fullback in the league, so I feel like we kind of just have to throw a little respect on his name. Ravens go and re-sign their fullback. That's probably going to be in the league for another 20 years because he's the only fullback that exists. Shout out to Patrick Ricard.
There are a couple others. That's kind of exaggeration, but
Yes. Cincinnati. This is a big one right here. Samaje Perine. Who cares? The big one's right here. Jamar Chase.
and below him.
And below him. That's also a very big one. Jamar Chase. He got paid. He got his bag. And
Well
uh,
deserved.
we had a debate earlier in the year where it was like, well, it wasn't really a debate. It was just a scenario that we like agreed
Yeah.
on, but like I didn't
Yep.
like. Go back and watch that. I don't know what episode it is. Go back and
Not
later
a
in the
clue.
year. Not cool. Jamar Chase, we talked about why he would keep playing, stuff like that. He got his bag. He got paid a lot, and I do think it's deserved. He had an amazing season. Underneath him, you got T. Higgins. Jameson, you know it best. I am probably T. Higgins' best fan. Excuse me.
Probably.
I'm a massive T. Higgins fan. Clemson alum, of course. I love T. Higgins. I wanted him out of Cincinnati. I think he's being overshadowed by Jamar Chase too much. And I'm not saying Jamar Chase isn't a bad receiver. Again, deserve to get paid that much. I just think T. Higgins is a better receiver than he's being known as because of Jamar Chase. He's taking all that attention. I hated seeing him do this. I wanted him going somewhere else. I kind of wanted him to go to the Patriots and be a star. That was what I wanted.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Mike Gesicki has kind of always been just like a decent tight end, I feel like. Um, he's not like your highlight guy unless he's doing a touchdown dance of that gritty. If anyone shout out Mike Gesicki.
He's got a good grade.
That's the only real highlight Mike Gesicki will give you. Looking at other names here, I'm not seeing any other like massive signings. BJ Hill is a decently
Yep.
veteran type of defensive lineman. He'll bring knowledge to that defense line. He's a good gap filler for that run stopping scheme.
Yeah, if you weren't going to bring up BJ Hill, I was going to. A lot of people probably don't know his name, but he does the dirty work. He eats up blocks, allows other guys to get to the passer. He's a very good defensive tackle for the Bengals. So happy for him that he got signed and brought back. To the Cleveland Browns with Kenny Pickett as QB1 on the roster right now, which is absurd.
You got to draft one. We've gone over the mock draft again. Mock draft
Yep.
last week, amazing views. We loved the support there. Thank you so much for that. You saw that we had him mocking. I believe that was Cam. No, it was Shadur.
Yeah, we had the Giants trading up. Little recap for you if you missed it. Cam Ward going number 1 to the Giants who traded up for him. Shadur Sanders going number 2 to the Browns to hopefully solve their quarterback problem in the future. Definitely could see it happening. There is still the opportunity for them to sign like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Jameis Winston, re-sign. I don't love any of those long term, anyways. So I could still see them taking a quarterback at 2. Absolutely. Now, Miles Garrett is obviously going to be your big one. He had that little, I don't even know what you want to call that drama, or he's I'm not going to resign no matter what. I want out no matter what the money is. They ended up giving him $40 million a year, and he changed his mind pretty quickly. I don't know if that was his end game or if he just couldn't turn down the money. Not really sure. Doesn't really matter anymore. He's their best player. He's going to be there for all they need him to. Other than that, they don't really have any more money between paying Miles Garrett and Deshaun Watson. They have no money to spend on anybody. They get Devin Bush, they bring Devin Bush back. Or no, did they? To a 1 year deal. Where was he last year? I thought he was with the Browns last year. It doesn't matter. Regardless, they have Devin Bush, who is I would say, underrated linebacker, but at this point, he's just kind of an average linebacker.
He's not
Like,
even average.
he just kind of floats around there. He can give you some starts, but he's serviceable at best, I would say. Like, and then Joe Tyron, I'm not even trying to pronounce that last name, from the Buccaneers, a 1 year prove it deal. He hasn't been great the last couple of years. We'll see if he can turn into something for him. But other than that, not a lot to talk about here.
Kind of took my team here, but it's all right. I'll talk about Devin Bush. Um, I like Devin Bush a lot. It was sad to see him fall the way he did. He was an athlete out of college. Went to Michigan, amazing linebacker at Michigan. Got drafted. Where did he got drafted to the Steelers, I believe.
Yes, he did. First round.
Yeah, Devin Bush, really good athlete of a linebacker. He just has never really turned out, and it's sad to see. I was a big Devin Bush fan, and like Jay said, he's mediocre at best. He give you a few starts. He's definitely not your number one linebacker, and if he is, you're in trouble. I want the Steelers because of the big name that I want to talk about. Okay.
The Steelers was yours anyways.
Oh, okay. Mason Rudolph, cool beans. Kenneth Gainwell, cool beans. This right here makes me mad. Seahawk
Are you
fans,
mad?
oh, you know I was a massive DK Metcalf fan.
I'm
I
not paying
was.
him that contract.
I
I think that was a
understand that.
mistake.
I, as much as I agree, I still love DK Metcalf as a player. Do I think he's as good as that contract? No. Yeah, if I'm paying that guy that much, I want him over 1,000 yards. He does get a lot of touchdowns. Once again, I like DK.
A
You,
lot is
I'm.
kind of a stretch, but
You're right.
okay.
A good amount of touchdowns. He gets a good amount of touchdowns. He's a great deep threat. He's a very good threat. I'll put it that way. He might not be the yards and statistic wise, but what he does bring to the table is that you cannot leave him alone, otherwise he will put up yards and statistics on you. And I think that's DK's biggest thing is the threat. Just the thought of DK, not even the actions of DK, just the thought of DK. And I don't know if I would want to pay a guy this much money to be a thought on the field. That's just my opinion. I am a massive DK Metcalf fan. I didn't think he deserved that much money. I do think he deserved a little more money. Didn't think it was that much. Scotty Miller, really fast guy. Donald Parham is a really underrated guy, actually. I'm looking at he's big. Donald Parham
He's
is a tackle.
huge.
He's a tackle playing tight end. That's what Donald Parham is.
Well, they have Darnell Washington on that team too.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Put these guys in I formation.
They have Pat. I can't think of his last name.
Hold on.
Fryermuth. They have Fryermuth. They have Donald Parham, and they have Washington now with Connor Hayward as well, who's a bigger tight end on his weight. Like they're loaded at tight end right now.
All right. Steelers, hear me out.
I don't know what they're doing. They don't even know what their quarterback is, but they got tight
Go
end.
go sign Kyle Juszczyk. Run an I formation offense. You got DK Metcalf and George Pickens, who are two
Kyle
good.
Juszczyk re-signed with the Niners, dude.
Oh, go get him. Go get him. Sorry, I thought he was still free agent.
No,
Free
he
agency
re-signed.
stuff. Um, get a fullback, run an I formation offense. You got two wide receivers that can block. You got three tight ends that are great. Darnell Washington and Darnell Parham are massive, amazing blocking tight ends. Run the ball, man. Go get Ashton Genty and just run this ball.
Or Omarion Hampton.
Amari Hampton, just go get a running back in this stacked running back class and run the ball. Gotta hurry this up. Darius Slay, good
Patrick
corner.
Peterson 2.0.
Actually, that's a really good.
An old corner who was good past his prime, coming to Steelers to die.
Wow. All right, cool
We're here for
beans.
the content.
With that, Texans, go ahead.
Texans. Interesting one was Christian Kirk trade. He's going to be taking over the Tank Dell slot receiving role in the offense. I kind of like it. They did some crazy moves with this offensive line, which blew my mind. Traded Laramie Tunsil, traded Kenyon Green, I believe his name was. He was their starting
Yep.
left guard. They brought in Ed Ingram from the Vikings, who is decent. And then they signed Laken Tomlinson, who is a probably serviceable guard, is what you'd call him.
Call him
He's
less.
not he's not great. He can give you some starts.
Call him less.
$4.25 million. You know what you're getting there. Then they got just a ton of depth pieces here with linebackers and defensive line rotation depth. Darrell Taylor, who was a ex-Seahawk, Derek Barnett resigning, and then Derek Stingley got paid, which I can't say it wasn't deserved. He was one of the best cornerbacks in the league this last year. So they got ahead again. They got ahead of the eight ball, signed their guy to a long-term deal before his contract value continued to go up. This terrifies me for Tariq Woolen next season when he's eligible for contract. We'll talk about that a different day. CJ Gardner Johnson getting traded from the Eagles for kind of a bag of chips was wild and kind of funny to me. So, not a lot there, a lot of depth, but we'll see what his offensive line comes together now with losing some good pieces for him, some young pieces.
Yeah, Colts. I find what the Colts did extremely interesting, and I
Sure.
honestly like it. First thing is the elephant in the room, and that's Danny Dimes to me.
Indiana Jones.
Whatever that means. You
Well,
have AR.
Indianapolis, Indiana.
Yeah, I get it. I
Okay.
didn't get it. I don't care. AR-15 is better than Daniel Jones. I don't care what anyone else says. I will die on this hill that AR is better than him. Daniel Jones better not start. I want AR-15. Maybe biased because he's on my fantasy team. Don't care. AR better start. Leave it at that. No one else here is really important except for Travarius Ward. This is an amazing addition to the Colts. I
Yep.
love this pickup for them. You
Yep.
have that's your number one corner, and he's great size. It's an amazing corner. I am glad he's not on the 49ers anymore. Glad to see that. Go Colts. Colts defense might be actually sleepers this coming year.
Yeah, that was the one pick I really liked for the Colts. So good for them. The
Rams,
Jaguars,
boring squad.
Yeah, they didn't do anything crazy, I'll tell you that much. Their biggest two was probably well, Jordan Lewis for one, signing a slot corner to a 3 year, $30 million deals. I thought was kind of interesting, especially when they don't have really two great outside corners as well.
What do you think?
They have Makari, who's an older guard, and then they signed Deami Brown to be wide receiver one. Like, is Gabe Davis? No, sorry, Brian Thomas.
Let's
I'm
say Brian
wow,
Thomas.
wow.
Ever
Brian
heard of
Thomas
him?
just
No.
absolutely skirted my mind. So you get Brian Thomas and now Gabe Davis is and Deami Brown are two and three. Like, this isn't a great receiving group. I don't love it. I don't love it for Trevor Lawrence. We'll see if Liam Cohen can put something together here. I don't know. 1 year, $10 million for Deami Brown, though. Good for him.
That's really it.
Pretty much.
On to the Titans. Um, you got Van Jefferson, who's an underrated guy from the Rams. I don't know if he was on the Rams last year though. I'm actually a decently Van Jefferson fan. He's never good at football until he plays the Seahawks.
Seems like
And
it.
yeah, Kevin Zeitler is actually a really good guard. Very old, very veteran type guy, but he doesn't seem like he's slowing down much. He's actually is a very good guard, and I was kind of hoping the Seahawks were going to take him. Signed 1 year, 9 mil. That's a great contract. I think that's a steal. Draymond Jones,
Overpay.
overpaid. As a Seahawks, that's overpaid. This guy, that's all I gotta say, overpaid. Joseph Day, I'm pretty sure is also a pretty underrated defensive lineman as well.
He
I don't
is.
know much. I don't know much about him, but I do know he's underrated.
Talk
Then
about him.
Cody Barton, I'll let you talk about him. I'll let you talk
Cody
about Cody.
Barton. I've loved this guy since he came into the league. He's an ex-Seahawk. I thought he was a starting linebacker when he left the Seahawks. He had like over 100 tackles his last year at the Seahawks. Went on to the Commanders
Steelers.
for the year.
Man, where did he go?
I don't know. He went somewhere for 1 year, then he went to the Broncos the year after that. He's getting a decent sized payday here.
Oh, he's on the
Um,
Broncos.
that was last year. The year before that, he was on a different team. I thought it was the Commanders.
Maybe. I don't know.
Really was. Regardless, underrated linebacker, really good value here at a 3 year, $21 million contract. I'm happy for him. The one guy you forgot to talk about was Dan Moore, the left tackle.
I have no
four
clue who
year.
that is.
He's the Steelers left tackle. He's not that good. This was a severe overpay by the Titans.
It's probably why I don't know who that is.
Yeah, he's not great.
50 million guaranteed. Gee,
Yeah,
whiz.
this was a bad sign.
Hey, you got Johnny Hecker though. That's a heck of a
There you
punter.
go. That makes up for all of it.
Yeah. Go Johnny Hecker.
Oh, Johnny Hacker. To the Broncos.
The Broncos had a good offseason so far.
They did. They loaded up on defense. They stole two guys from the Niners, two of the really good guys from the Niners to help this already great defense from last year that really nobody knew who was on their team. Dre Greenlaw is going to take over for Cody Barton. Hate to say it, but that is an upgrade for them. As good as
100%.
Cody Barton was for last year, Greenlaw is a excellent linebacker. Hufunga at safety is one of those younger up and coming linebackers, or sorry, safeties. He plays like linebacker sometimes, but he can play in the box. He's terrifying. As a Seahawks fan, we played him twice a year. Dude's running around, hitting people. He's all over the place constantly. Kind of reminds you of like a Troy Polamalu type guy. That's kind of an easy
Looks like him.
comparison.
Looks like
Right,
him too.
exactly. And then Evan Ingram signing that 2 year deal. I think that he could be have a season like Jimmy Graham esque when Sean Payton was in New Orleans.
Oh. Hmm.
I think Ingram could
Oh.
possibly go off this year.
I like that comparison a lot. Evan Ingram's one of the faster tight ends in the league.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that comparison. So obviously the Chiefs, the most notable thing here is Gardner Minshew. I mean, he's going to come in and start over Patrick Mahomes easily. I mean, Gardner Minshew's 10 times better than Patrick Mahomes. Like, if you're Patrick Mahomes, you're easily shaking your boots because Gardner Minshew is coming in and stealing your job.
Gardner Minshew.
Right. Of course, that's a joke. Do not take that seriously. There's a lot of signings here that I didn't even know that they did this. I'm not going to lie to you.
I don't. How did
Juju,
they have enough money to do all this?
no clue. Marquise Brown, that's a speedster, great, like kind of like a DK where just a scheme fit. That's There's a lot of speed on this Chiefs team in Xavier Worthy and Marquise Brown now. Juju is a very good number two, number three receiver. He's not a good one receiver. I'm saying that because of his Steeler days. He kind of fell off after Antonio Brown carried him on his back. Trey Smith, great guard. One of the best guards in the league, you could say. Really mad that they re-signed him. I want him to go to the Seahawks.
They didn't even re-sign him. They just franchise tagged him. They stuck him with the tag, and they're just gonna make him
Oh,
play on
you're
it.
right. Yeah, you're right. I didn't read that. My bad. Nick Bolton, amazing signing. One of the best linebackers in the league. Nick Bolton. I don't know how where they got the money to do this,
I,
but
they pushed all of Chris Jones's and Patrick Mahomes' money just down the road. They just kicked the
why would
can down
you?
the road.
Why would you push Patrick Mahomes' quarter or contract down the road when you have Gardner Minshew on your team? Like, just cut Patrick Mahomes at that point.
Unreal.
Raiders, Golden Daily.
Raiders. Biggest two, Max Crosby. We'll start with
Oh,
Max Crosby.
okay.
Max Crosby signing what was like for a couple days the highest non-quarterback contract. Raiders did a good job signing him when they did, just so that they didn't have to try and top Garrett or
Chase.
Chase. So good on the Raiders. They signed him at the right time. It's a lot of money. Crosby's worth it. They traded for Geno Smith. As a Seahawks fan, I'm really happy with this trade. Getting a third round pick out of Geno when you had to move off of him at some point, anyways, just kind of made sense. Makes sense for Pete as well, who's probably not looking to try and rebuild. He's on the older side of age. Wants a quarterback that he knows can run a system that he knows he believes in. Geno Smith is that guy. Happy for the two of them that they're back together. Whatever. I don't know if it'll work out for him or not. Alex Kappa struggled hard last year, signing that 2 year, $11 million contract. So they got rid of Andre James, so they're going to slide Powers Johnson to center, probably play Kappa at the guard spot to relieve him. Makes sense. Other than that, Knuch, Jeremy Chin, I'll get you. Knuch was actually a really underrated signing. I thought he was going to hit somewhere and sign big. I was kind of hoping the Seahawks snuck under the radar and got him. I like him. So I'm kind of hoping after this 1 year deal, he hits free agency again and gets paid. Got to watch out for this year if you're not a deep football fan and you don't know all these guys like that. Eric Stokes, not great. Jeremy Chin, the type of guys that Pete Carroll likes. He, both me and Reed are a Jeremy Chin fan. We wanted the Seahawks to sign him last year. He's a kind of a toolsy player. You can kind of use him all over the place. He also hits hard. He's not afraid to tackle whatsoever. You can put him in the box. He can play a linebacker. Good signing for them. 2 years, 16, but more than I thought he would probably get. He didn't have. I didn't think he had that great of a year on the Commanders. So good for him.
I do agree. You could probably argue that he's a little overpaid. The one thing I want to say is, he reminds me, or Nick Emmanuel reminds me a lot of Jeremy Chin. I think they're very similar players. Nick is a little bigger and hits a little harder. I do like Nick more coming out of the draft, but I was a big Jeremy Chin fan. I like these safeties that fly around and make tackles. I like Hufanga. I like Caleb Downs. Next year, you will hear me nonstop talking about Caleb Downs. I like safeties that fly around and are involved in every single play. Jeremy Chin can be that guy, and I think with a Pete Carroll defense, he will be that guy.
Fair enough.
It's just a little Jeremy Chin glaze from me. Chargers, pretty active here. You got Taylor Heineke. Well, underrated signing, you know. He's a pretty good backup in my opinion. Jalen Rager drops a lot. Mike Williams, Clemson alum. I do like the signing actually for $6 million. He's a pretty good sign for 6 mil. I think he's a good wide receiver. Even if he doesn't start, he's still a good backup. I mean, he's like 6'5", great deep threat, jump ball type of guy. The they got two centers. Good for them. Mekhi Becton is actually a name a lot of people know because he was really big coming out of the draft. He kind of, yeah, honestly, you could say he's probably a bust.
He had a
But
good season last year with the Eagles.
he get picked like seventh overall?
He had to be a tackle, be the future left tackle of the Jets, and he just didn't play out. So Eagles took a chance on him, moved him into guard. He was serviceable, but what does that say that they didn't resign him, right?
Exactly. Edge Khalil Mack is a great re-signing, 1 year deal. Honestly, if you're the Chargers, I like this idea. Just kind of run him into the ground. Just keep him until he sucks. I like it. Just keep signing 1 year deals. Sean Hand is a pretty underrated guy. I like the 1 year, 3 million contract. Improve it. Good deal there. Other names, Dante Jackson. I'm pretty sure that's a veteran corner. Correct. Yeah.
He was pretty good last year for the Steelers. I thought they were going to resign him. They needed to,
And then Denzel Perriman's just a decent linebacker for him. It's a good re-signing, keeping the guy that's been around your system.
for sure. That wraps up the AFC. Cowboys. The pairing of Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams has a lot of upside, but I don't see a ton of production coming out of this duo. I think they still draft a running back, and that's still their future guy. They're both on one year deals. That kind of makes sense. Other than that, Dante Fowler Jr. coming back. I don't think he'll be as good because he had Dan Quinn as his defensive coordinator the first time around. They traded for Kenneth Murray. They also traded for Kier Elam, who isn't great. Other than that, they re-signed Marquise Bell, who was a decent safety for them. I'm not a fan of what the Cowboys did here. They got a lot of names, but they didn't get a lot of great like just on-field production, if you will. There's a lot of
Yeah,
it's a lot of depth pieces that they're going to end up having to start because they're desperate after paying their guys so much money, and I just don't see it working well for them.
yeah, I agree. The other name you didn't is Kevontae Turpin, and he's just a returner. He's actually a really good returner,
He's just really
and
fast.
he's yeah, really fast. The Giants, excuse me, Tommy DeVito is an interesting re-sign there. Great backup. He actually was pretty good in the games he played. Darius Slayton, he's all right. I mean, he's a Giants wide receiver. I'll put him that, and he can start on the Giants. Stone Forsythe, glad he's gone. That's all I gotta say there. James Hudson, I believe, is a veteran tackle, correct?
I think so. I don't know much about James Hudson. I think he
I
played on the
think he's a
Browns.
decent tackle. I'll put it there. Other than that, Javon Holland. There it is. That's signing.
Paulson Adebo. Oh, I forgot about Javon Holland. Paulson Adebo, good signing. Good corner.
The big name here is Javon Holland. We've talked about him. Javon Holland's a top 3 safety in the league. Ball hawk, just a great safety, and I think he adds so much to this Giants defense. I think that's a great signing.
For sure. Eagles had to get a little creative with their signings because of their money situation, right? They're in the playoff or the Super Bowl bubble right now after just winning last year. They're trying to repeat, trying to go in this little Super Bowl window they have here. So making good moves on their part, getting a young guard in Kenyon Green, trading CJ Gardner Johnson, that is. They get a new backup quarterback, basically upgrading from Pickett to Dorian Thompson Robinson, who has a slightly higher ceiling than Pickett does. Plus, I just think I'd rather have him, in my opinion.
100%
Giving
agree.
Saquon Barkley a 2 year extension, pushing his money out, which actually freed up a little bit of cap space for them, and also rewarding Barkley for having a great season. Great move by both parties, I think. Zach Bond got paid, which is surprising. I didn't think they'd be able to find the money to re sign him, even though he had a really good season. So I thought he was going to walk. They somehow retained him. And they got both Josh Uche and Aziz Ojulari, who are both underrated pass rushers. They haven't had great production in the past, but they have high upside that if you can get the most out of them, it's going to be great for them. They're going to get into a rotation that's pretty deep on the Eagles' offensive line or defensive line, sorry, after losing Josh Sweat. So I think this is great moves just kind of across the board for the Eagles. They did a fantastic job in free agency.
100% agree. Commanders, this is your team. I'm gonna cover it though. Marcus Mariota, I didn't know this guy was even in the league still. Noah Brown, I actually do really like this re-signing. He was really good last year. He was an underrated receiver for them. He did get hurt like later in the season. I was a big fan of Noah Brown. KJ Osborne, Vikings receiver, another underrated type of guy. And then the big name here is Deebo Samuel, the like gadget player slash running back slash did the everything for the 49ers. Another wide receiver here. Yeah, Jane Daniels is gonna have a few guys to throw to now, which I like those moves. Re-signing Zach Ertz, that's like Old Faithful right there. That's a geyser from where is it? Yellowstone. That's Old Faithful. Larry Tunsil, someone. someone give us how many times Laremy Tunsil's been traded and what happened. Like this guy is probably the most traded value man in the league's history.
He's still really good. That's a great trade for the Commanders to get better on their offensive line.
100% agree. A little throwback for me seeing this name right here. You know it. No one else does. Cleveland Farrell. I was a massive fan of Cleveland Farrell coming out of Clemson, of course. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Reed. I am Clemson graduate Glazer right here. I love anyone that came out of Clemson. I don't care who they are. Cleveland Farrell did not turn out. Sad to say. Eddie Goldman, he's a pretty underrated defensive tackle in my opinion. Um, I kind of like this. I'm not saying he's like great or anything, but I do really like this deal for what you get out of him for this much money. Javon Kinlaw, it's a really good signing. I think he's a great player. Um, Shout out Nick Bellore. That guy's really a fullback, but he can play linebacker too. Bobby Wagner, that guy can actually really play linebacker. Really good veteran, great captain on the team, amazing tackler. Me and you could go on about this guy forever. This is one of the guys that I wasn't mad about him leaving Seattle, and I'm still a huge Bobby Wagner fan and happy to see him succeeding on the Commanders. Other than that, Jonathan Jones is also a pretty good signing.
Bears, who in my opinion, had one of, if not the best offseason as far as building a team goes. They upgraded on their offensive line. They got Drew Dahlman, who is the center, probably the best center in free agency this year. Really good center. Got him. Traded for Joe Thuney, which was crazy that the Chiefs allowed him to leave. He was basically their best offensive lineman outside of probably Trey Smith last year. He
Creed
played,
Humphrey.
I would say Thuney did better. I mean, he played left guard, he played center, or not center. He played left tackle at times too for him. He was able to play both positions at a decently high level. He's not as good of a tackle as he's a guard, obviously, because that's his main position. They also traded for Jonah Jackson, who had a bad last year on the Rams. I think he ended up getting benched at one point or hurt. I can't remember which one, but he has experience with um, what's his name? Ben Johnson in the past in Detroit. So really upgraded the interior offensive line for the Bears, which is the one thing they needed to do is bolster their offensive line. I think this only sets the team up for success going forward, especially on offense. They also got Grady Jarrett, who is on the back end of his career. He's getting a little older, so this was a little bit of an overpay in my opinion, but he's still a good player if you could have gotten him for cheaper. So I still like the player overall.
Ben Johnson cooked with this team, to put it shortly. I
Yep.
really like what he did. He took the Bears offensive line from being one of the worst in the league to arguably a top five in the league. You got Broderick's right, I believe. Look at the Bears offensive line. There's studs on that offensive line. Caleb Williams is gonna pop off this year.
Yeah, I think so too.
Lions. You got there's not much here. DJ Reed is your probably biggest name.
That's your big one.
He's played really well on the Jets. The one knock I have for DJ Reed is his size. That guy, he's probably the same height as me. He's actually a little taller than me. DJ Reed, he's really short for an NFL player, really short corner, and that's
He's a
my one
baller
knock.
though.
He's a baller, but when DK Metcalf goes up and mosses him, not everyone's calling him a baller.
I don't think it happens as much as you think.
You're right, it doesn't. I've watched. That's all I really want to talk about here for the Lions. They already have all the players they need on that roster.
Packers had a quiet offseason as they typically do. They're not super active in free agency basically ever. McCole Hardman signed there just today, a speed burner. They have crazy depth at wide receiver. I don't know how much of an impact he'll actually make. Banks was the big signing. He's going to solidify their offensive line for them on a relatively young offensive line. They're going to slide somebody into center to take over for Josh Myers, play Banks at guard. Duffy re-signing. Nate Hobbs is probably the biggest one. They haven't done anything with Jair Alexander yet, so I'm a little interested to see what the game plan is there, if they're just going to play his contract out. I was under the assumption that Nate Hobbs was going to be their cornerback one going into next season, and they were going to draft another guy. Could still happen. Regardless, Nate Hobbs is a extremely solid cornerback two. If that's how it ends up being, it'd be great for him. But I have a feeling he'd be their cornerback one. Don't hate it.
Vikings, really like the Aaron Jones re-signing. He was pretty good for him last year. I think he's a pretty consistent running back. Not elite, not terrible. good re-signing. Jordan Mason, I really like the upside behind this trade. He looked good last year replacing CMC. I think it's a great pick or great trade for
Great trade.
yeah. Ryan Kelly, he's kind of been just like a decent center for him,
Mhm.
right? I think yeah,
The Colts.
that, yeah. Sorry, I didn't. I said for them. I meant the Colts.
Yep.
He's a good center for the Colts. Jonathan Allen, really good defensive tackle for the Commanders, I believe.
Correct. Yeah. Really
Yeah,
good.
really good. Love that pick. Jason Hargrave, another really good pickup. Byron Murphy, another really good pickup. Jeff Okuda. I still got hope for Jeff Okuda. He's not
High
turning it
upside.
on.
It's just he's never been able to hit it.
Exactly. And then Harrison Smith. This guy is reaching 42 at least.
I couldn't believe that they gave him a contract of $14 million.
Yeah.
Like he's been amazing. I just don't know if he's still worth that much.
He's getting old. Like I said, he's got to be like 40.
He's
He's been in the
he's
league forever.
not that old, but he is old. I think Kevin O'Connell cooked with
Oh, this is
this trade.
these two defensive lineman signings. Love these two.
The Vikings are gonna make some noise this year.
I can agree. And they got a pretty high draft pick. They go get a I mean, do they even need a corner anymore? I mean, depends upon how much Kevin O'Connell trusts Jeff Okuda. How much do you think you can coach Jeff Okuda up? Jeff Okuda
I
does
s-
have potential to be a good corner. I just don't know if he can reach
Byron
it.
Byron Murphy's gonna be their one, and then Akuda, Rogers, and Thomas are gonna compete, and they're probably gonna draft the guy. I
I was
may
gonna
guess.
say they could
And
probably
it's just
draft
going
a
to be
good
like
one.
it's just going to be a competition. Whoever's the best one that comes out of it is going to be their cornerback too. Is how it's going to play out.
And it's not a bad situation to be in.
It's not at all. Falcons didn't do anything super sexy, if you will. Jake Matthews signing a 2 year extension. He's been great for them, just on the offensive line. You don't hear about him much, just because you don't need to hear about him much. He doesn't do anything awful a lot. He's just kind of solid, stays there, dependable. Forget about him. Leonard Williams signing. They needed pass rush.
Leonard Floyd
What did I say?
Williams. Just thinking about the Seahawks too much.
Yeah. Sorry. It's just ingrained in my brain. Leonard Floyd signing as the Falcons' top priority need on offense, on defense. They've needed pass rush for the last, I don't know, forever. I don't like know if they've ever had really a good pass rusher. Vic Beasley is probably the last time they've had a good
Yeah,
one.
that's a good pull.
Like, so getting somebody to a veteran, then can get to the pass or to the quarterback, and then they'll probably draft one as well. Other than that, just a lot of under the radar guys. Diablo's a pretty solid linebacker. A lot of people don't know who that guy is. He's pretty solid for him. Nothing really crazy going on here.
Carolina. Excuse me. Rico Dowdle. He's a good backup. I think he's a good number two running back. Whether Jonathan Brooks turns out or not, we don't really know what's going on there. David Moore, haven't seen that name in a while. Ex Seahawks receiver, pretty underrated guy. Could definitely start for a team, especially for a team like the Panthers. Don't
He
know
had
who
a
this
pretty good year
guy.
last year.
Yeah, I don't. I have no clue. I didn't really pay attention. Like I said, I haven't heard the name in a while.
No, he did.
I
You
don't.
look at the stats later.
I didn't. I don't know who this Tommy Tremble guy is, but I love this name.
You
No
don't know
clue who
who
this guy is.
Tommy Tremble is?
No clue who Tommy Tremble is, but I love this guy's name. Tommy Tremble is an elite name.
I didn't know you were a casual.
All right. What you know about Malik Washington?
Apparently, he's going to be the MVP. That's what I've heard.
Whoever said that's a real smart, handsome dude. That's all I
Handsome.
got.
Yeah, continue. We got to keep rolling.
Yeah. Tommy Tremble, love the name. I'm not seeing any. Oh, JC Horn. There it is. I'm a big JC Horn fan. I think he's a great corner. Got paid a lot of money. He does get hurt quite a lot. He's a great player when he's on the field. The other one is Michael Jackson. Hee hee. Um, yeah, that's Michael Jackson. He's just an ex-Seahawk. That's the only reason. I just wanted to make this noise. Sorry. All right, your turn.
Same. Always in a cap situation that is abysmal every year. Every year. Somehow found enough cash to re-sign Chase Young a 3 year, $51 million deal. They also signed Justin Reed to a 3 year, $31.5 million deal. That one surprised me. Great safety. Did not see him going to the Saints. but pairing him up with Tyrann Mathieu, who did end up taking a pay cut to stay with the Saints, I think is going to be really good for them on the back end. They did lose a Debo, like I talked about earlier, and they didn't really sign anybody to replace him. Uh, Isaac, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, really fast corner, but a 3 year, $9 million deal tells me that he's probably going to be a special teamer at best, maybe a rotational piece, not probably a starting corner for them. So Cam Jordan also returned, another guy, kind of like the Harrison Smith we're talking about, an older guy who's staying with his team, has been great for him. So glad to see him back.
Bucks. Chris Godwin, it's a really good re-sign. Godwin's kind of just been really consistent for him. If he's on the field, he's a good player. I'll leave it there. Sterling
Sure.
Sharp. Sterling Sharp's another underrated guy. I really like the amount of money they paid him here. I think it's a great value pickup there.
Sterling
Sound
Shepard, not sure.
Did I say Sterling Sharp?
Yeah.
Did I say Shannon Sharp?
No, I think you said Sterling Sharp.
Oh, okay. Well, at least I didn't say Shannon Sharp. Hassan Reddick, pretty good edge guy. Not like the insane elite guy, but he definitely is. Will get stuff done, and I really like the 1 year deal there. Levante David, this is kind of like your Bobby Wagner type of player, old veteran,
Dependable.
sure tackler. I think these two are very good comparisons.
You mentioned them on the same team.
Your the running back is not getting your DBs will not have to tackle. That's
Yeah,
all
but
I
they're
got to
going
say.
to pass the ball all over you.
Oh yeah, these guys they can't cover. They can't cover
They're
for
not great in coverage, but
38.
they can run stop.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have a hard time getting to the second level.
Cardinals, re-signing some offensive linemen, re-signing Zay Jones.
Oh,
I am not a Zay Jones fan. I mean, they didn't really do a whole lot outside
bunch
of
of
Josh
depth.
Sweat, who is their big signing, right? Great pass rusher for the Eagles last year. He'll definitely upgrade their pass rush. But like outside of that, Delvin Tomlinson, I think is an overpay. I don't think he's that great. He's just a space eater. I feel like there are cheaper alternatives to getting space eaters than like $14.5 million a year. Just me though. Baron Browning re-signing, I was not super impressed, but he was able to get to the quarterback a decent amount last year for them. Could be a good pairing with Josh Sweat. Maybe Josh Sweat frees him up a little bit more to get to the passer. We shall see. Overall, not a huge fan of this free agency class for the Cardinals.
Um, Matthew Stafford re-signing for the Rams. Jimmy G signing. It's cool stuff. Big name here is Devontae Adams.
Dude,
Very interesting to me is getting
he
Devontae
got
Adams. Great.
paid.
He got paid a lot of money. I don't know if I agree with how much money he got. Um, Rams are doing the Rams-like things. Here's my hot take, though. If there's one thing Matthew Stafford does, it's make old receivers' careers and make them get glazed like no other. That was a little like soft launch slash foreshadowing for what's coming. Yeah, I think he might do that to Devontae Adams here. I think Devontae Adams might actually have a good season because of Matthew Stafford. And then the other one is Puna Ford. I just really like Puna Ford. I think he's a really good. Why can't I highlight? There we go. I think Puna Ford's a really good space eater. We just talked about Delvin Tomlinson. I'm pretty sure this, if my math is correct, this is a way cheaper deal, and I honestly like Puna Ford more. So,
Yeah, that's what I mean. There are cheaper alternatives. Why sign Tomlinson? Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. What do I know though? You
what do
didn't
we
even
know?
touch on Alaric Jackson getting his 3 year 57 mil.
It's a lot of money for a guy that I don't even know who that is.
I think he's their left tackle.
Good for him. Don't know who he is.
Good for him. Niners, they got Kyle Juszczyk. They re-signed him. Read breaking news.
Good for them.
They also have Mac Jones. So in case Brock Purdy goes down, they got their future just in line.
These guys are the same quarterback, I swear.
Why do you think they want him? Unlike
Yeah.
the Ravens, who went with a completely different quarterback in case the starting quarterback gets hurt, the 49ers did the smart thing and said, hey, we have a plug and play quarterback in the same system. Doesn't that not make sense?
It makes sense. Yeah, like checks out.
Other than that, not a whole lot going on. Demarcus Robinson, I think, is an underrated receiver. He's been
Oh,
solid everywhere
100%.
he's played. Trey Brown. Struggled last year for the Seahawks. Kind of made me sad. I was hyping him up before the start of the season. I like him as a player. Literally would have been happy if he went anywhere else than the Niners just because I hate the Niners. But I digress. That's about all I got to say about the Niners.
Seahawks, 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 Seahawks. How come we save them for the end? That's actually insane.
Because we have now the rest of the time to talk about them, and we're like out of time.
Yeah, but it's okay because they want to hear about this. Now, me and James have complete opposite opinions on half these. If
Probably.
you've watched any of our videos, you know how I feel about Cooper Cup.
You love them.
I am Cooper Cup, y'all. I might marry the guy and then stab him in the back. Sorry, no, that was too much. Cooper Cup, I might be his biggest hater. I think he's glazed way too much. I think he's overrated, and now he's on my favorite team. So that's absolutely great. Um, Not excited about it. Sam Darnold, I don't hate as much. It's growing on me, if I'm going to be honest. I'm starting to like Sam Darnold more and more every day. I was not a big Geno fan either. I wasn't a massive Sam Darnold fan. I do think it's kind of weird how Jameson was a Sam Darnold Glazer at the start of the season, and now he's on our team when he predicted him on the Jets. So I'm kind of mad at him for that. But besides that,
Ironic.
I do really love this Demarcus Lawrence
I
signing.
love this signing.
I think every Seahawks fan should be excited about this. I think he's a great player, amazing run stopper, really helps this defense out. I think Mike McDonald can do some crazy stuff with Demarcus Lawrence and Hurst Jones re-signing. Love that re-signing. I love everything here except for Cooper Cup. I hate that signing in Cooper Cup.
I think the Seahawks are going to have a top 10 defense for sure this year. I think they're going to be a scary defense to play, and it's just a matter of if the Seahawks offense can do enough to win them or even keep them in games. But the defense will definitely keep you in games, if not win them for you. So
We
excited
made
times
it.
for a Seahawks fan.
We made a joke the other day when we were talking. Seahawks games might turn out to be 3-0 with the Seahawks
Yeah,
winning.
they very well might be.
And a win's a win in my book.
Absolutely, it is.
With that, I'm sorry for this extra long episode. We kind of had a lot to cover with every team. Hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you enjoyed it more with the long episodes. Who knows? Leave us in the comments. You can yell at us for going over the time. I'm sorry if we took up so much of your time. We appreciate you watching as always. We appreciate you watching a lot on the last video. We loved all that support and the comments. Of course, leave whatever you think below. Give us feedback. Give us hate. Please hate on Cooper Cup. Tell me I'm not the only one who likes Cooper Cup. Besides that, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Peace out, everybody.